Hey guys, the GammaEdge here coming at you with a post-market recap for August 22nd, 2025. So obviously, had a little bit of interaction with our transition zones early in the session, then JPA had a speech, market ripped, but what was interesting after that is really no follow-through, basically just a range day from that point in time. And so what we're going to get into is, yes, just going through our pre-market prep, how we got those key levels. I say key levels because generally most days they do play significance, but obviously we had a news event today, so market is going to do what it's going to do on that. But nonetheless, what is more important is kind of understanding how we got that choppy price action and how people, in the community took advantage of that. Right, so as always, SPX game plan in the Discord pre-market always do this most days. Here we go through SPX-A full complex, SPX-P full complex, then we go through the 0DT complex. One call out I do want to make, obviously you can go back, you can watch our pre-market YouTube videos we've been doing on YouTube Live. I'm not going to reiterate everything here, but when we were separating out SPX-P from SPX-A, SPX-P was showing a lot more deterioration in its structure relative to SPX-A. Remember SPX-A, 15 million contracts, slower term money, more institutional in nature, as opposed to SPXP is more of your short-term traders. That's where those people reside. So not saying that the SPXA knew what was going to happen today, but their structure was a lot more bullish and not rolling over in terms of put speculation coming into the market as we saw with the SPXP. So getting into the SPX 0DT complex real quick, right? Drunken tether range 46.10 down to 43.75. We had our DEX transition zone down here at 6,400 to 6,375. Right, 6,400 kind of being the key fulcrum in the structure, key psychological level, top of the DEX transition zone, all that good stuff. And right, what we're going to find out is, once we got that large push higher up in the structure where we were, there's limited kind of puts open at that point in time. So that fear component's not there to help propel us higher. So what we need to see from that point in time is right, the air is getting thin. So we need to see that incremental call buyer coming in, speculating out of the money to help drive us higher. And so, right, that's exactly what we saw today. You got the large push higher, but then mostly just meandering around price action wise. First thing I want to point out is market trend model. Yes, we got that large move. We saw sustained buying throughout the session via the cumulative tick, but looking at the filtered tick, that buying pressure really subsided in the back half of the session. We can kind of see here too, we have RSP price action overlaid with the neon yellow. Neon yellow side, we can see, a little bit of divergence once the rate of change of the, cumulative tick of the filter tick, which is represented a buying rate, just continue to chop around. Next, looking at our intraday volume analysis is the SPX 0DTE, calls overhead into green, puts overhead or below spot price in the red. So what we do is on a 5-minute over 5-minute basis, we're aggregating the volume for the calls and the puts. We are finding the centroid, which is in the middle of that distribution. We're plotting it throughout the session so we can understand what the behavior of price or what the behavior of speculators is throughout the session. And here we can see clearly, right, got the large impulse higher, but from there is really flat. From there is flat to lower, especially on the call side. Generally, what we see is when you see a large sustained move higher, you see a continuation higher in the call speculation higher, leading price higher. Same thing with puts, but really it was very muted both sides of the market once we did get that that initial push. And right, that helps up folks in the communities. They were putting on butterflies in the end of the session. They were, selling premium above, selling premium below. Why? Because we knew that that top side was putting a lid on the market because we were not seeing that continued expansion higher. And same thing, right? If we watch this movie, this is just a GIF of all the snippets that we do, 5-minute basis, the volume chart. We can see that it really just starts to flatten out here and it continues to just be flat throughout the session. So, right, it makes sense. Not seeing any speculation higher, not any material push higher from there. Right, just so you guys can see the utility of this chart, this was from 2 o'clock. So again, we can see what all the centroids being plotted throughout the session. That informs us of A, what speculators have been doing from the open until this point in time. And then B, knowing what they have done, we can project out into the future what they are likely to do, assuming all things equal, right? So that's exactly what these dashed lines are that we call the lines of best fit. And so, right, the most important thing from this shot or to take away is just the flattening of the call speculation throughout the entire session. And so all things equal, very flat here. That's just likely to continue throughout the session. So I could foresee, an easy thing that could happen is we saw the massive rip higher. People are betting all session. We're just going to continue to rip to the upside. They were probably disappointed all session when we kept just, getting those little moves higher, pull back, little move higher, pull back, just as continued choppy and actually probably frustrating. That's just exactly where this tool comes into play because, right, 255 speeding up from 2 o'clock, really just continuation of the flat action that we've seen and into the close. It was really just flat from here. So with that, really all that I had for you guys today, key points of this were getting our kind of key transition zones that we always do every day. You can see before JPOW happened, got a nice little interaction, capped out top of our drunken to the range, held at that 5,400 support, and then bam, away we went. But once that happened, it was really just flat price action from there and just kind of conveying through the intraday volume analysis, market trend model, how we were able to take advantage of that flat action. And not only that, but just I identify it. So with that, appreciate the time. You guys have a good weekend. Talk to you next week. Bye.